Has the philosophy changed? Leave your opinion in the comments. Let's start the debate. And if you want authentic and unfiltered coverage like this throughout the preseason, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next news. Look, right now, this team is at a turning point, and as a fan, you feel it. Big decisions are coming, especially at the quarterback position, and everything that is being said and not said matters. The draft is coming, free agency is just around the corner, and the front office is keeping its options open. This doesn't mean there isn't a plan. It means they are being cautious. This is the time of year when rumors spread, but behind the scenes, real evaluations are being made and could shape the future of this franchise for years. So tell me what you think. Are we on the right track? And if you're enjoying this type of analysis, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. The Cleveland Browns are at a crossroads with the 6th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, and what happened in Indianapolis may have revealed more than anyone expected. While prospects officially took the field, starting with kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers, the real headline wasn't 40-yard dash times or vertical jump. It was what Todd Monken said, and what he didn't say, about the quarterback position. Monken was asked about roster building, offensive linemen, and building toughness and consistency in the trenches. He made it clear that while size matters, what matters most is getting the best players available and training them properly. Strong guards, lighter, more agile guards. He believes it's possible to win with both. That tells us something. The Browns aren't sticking to a specific physique. They're looking for talent first and foremost. With free agency looming and the negotiation period opening on March 9th, decisions regarding veterans like Joel Bitonio will have to be made quickly, as the front office cannot afford to hesitate when the market opens. Monken also addressed the idea that he's simply bringing Baltimore's offense with him. He was honest, "You are what you are." But the Ravens are in the same division. You face them twice. You can't just copy the system. The terminology may change, the concepts may adjust, but philosophically, Browns fans, you can see where this is going. Strong offensive line, physical running game, defined roles. And when you start comparing the current roster to those Baltimore-style roles, it becomes easier to visualize what this offense could look like. Now, let's get to the part that should grab everyone's attention. When Monken was asked about quarterbacks, one name received a very specific description: Shedeur Sanders. Elite playmaking ability. Those were his words. Elite. He didn't use that word lightly. He didn't use it for anyone else. Dylan Gabriel's name didn't even come up in that context. Deshaun Watson was mentioned, yes, and Monken gave the expected professional response. You need to see him, you need to test him, you can't assign a grade without evaluation. But historically, no quarterback has returned from a double Achilles tendon injury in less than a year. That's not opinion, it's history. Monken expects to name a QB1 by the start of training camp. Think about it. No prolonged competition. No endless debates stretching into August. He wants clarity, and when the only quarterback described with elite playmaking ability is Shedeur Sanders, that says exactly who's at the center of this evaluation. Next comes the draft strategy. 3 AI-powered draft simulations were consulted on what Cleveland should do with the 6th overall pick. All 3 gave the same answer: trade the pick if the right offer comes along. Different reasoning, same conclusion. Accumulate picks. Exploit other teams' desperation for a quarterback. If no smart offer comes along, pick an elite offensive tackle. Protect whoever your QB1 is. This is fascinating because it reflects what smart front offices do when they're outside the top 5, but still have high-value players. And if a franchise desperate for a quarterback wants to move up in the draft, the Browns can control the first night. As for this year's quarterback class compared to last year's, The draft analyst's assessment is straightforward. There isn't a single quarterback in this class with a higher grade than Shedeur. In fact, one analyst stated that he wouldn't pick anyone in this draft instead of Shedeur. This aligns with what many believe. This is a weak class. Experience, practice in real-world game situations, composure under pressure. These are the factors that differentiate Sanders from the rest. So here we are, combine week. Free agency approaching, the 6th pick on the horizon. A coach who used a very specific word about a very specific quarterback. If the Browns keep their 6-man pick, will they commit to building the team around Shedeur Sanders? Or will they trade their pick for a lower pick in the hierarchy and try to accumulate assets while maintaining flexibility? What do you think is the smartest move for this franchise right now? And that's where things get even more interesting for Browns fans, because the quarterback discussion isn't happening in isolation. It's happening in the middle of what Monken himself called a crazy season, where rumors fly, narratives are planted, and teams say just enough to keep everyone on edge. This vagueness isn't accidental. It's strategy. If you're in the 6th pick and teams desperate for a quarterback are trying to guess your intentions, the last thing you do is reveal your cards. That's why the message to Shedeur Sanders supporters was simple. Relax. Keeping the situation open protects bargaining power. It keeps draft contenders uncertain. It preserves the option to trade the pick, and if someone gets desperate enough to move up to the top 6 and secure the player they want, Cleveland can turn a valuable pick into multiple impact players. But here's the part that matters most to these fans. The Browns are in a rare position. For the first time, they aren't rushing things. They aren't forcing a quarterback into a talent-filled class where they're choosing outside the elite tier. This year's quarterback pool has major unknowns, limited experience, turnover issues, size concerns, evaluations based on projections. Several prospects are seen as projects, rather than players who establish themselves from day one. And when you compare that to Sanders, who is described as having elite playmaking ability and professional-level experience, you understand why his name continues to stand out. Deshaun Watson's situation still persists, but the reality is hard to ignore. Double Achilles tendon injuries in 1 year are unprecedented in NFL success. Even the closest comparison mentioned was Jason Peters, an offensive lineman who ruptured the same Achilles tendon 2 years apart and still returned productively. But that's a completely different physical demand than a quarterback who needs to plant his foot, drive, and escape pressure on every snap. Mobility was part of what made Watson special. If that's compromised, the potential changes drastically. The organization can evaluate him, but the track record isn't exactly encouraging. And then there's the internal discussion about the depth of the roster. Dillon Gabriel's name wasn't emphasized in discussions about the quarterback. Andrew Berry publicly tried to calm the speculation, saying that Gabriel hadn't been forgotten internally, but the coaching staff's silence was quite revealing. If Cleveland selects another quarterback in the draft, it probably won't just be a superficial and competitive pick. It will be something intentional, someone who fits the physical profile and the vision of the system that Monken wants to build. And that brings us back to the philosophy. Monken emphasized the importance of resilience, consistency, and developing the best available players. He values continuity within the coaching staff, familiarity, and shared terminology with the assistants he's worked with. This is important because implementing an offensive identity requires cohesion. If the offense becomes a physical force influenced by Baltimore, with structured passing and explosive plays, the quarterback needs to fit into that context. It's not enough to have talent for throwing. It's not enough to be hyped. It needs to fit. Therefore, the Browns are considering 3 paths: keeping the 6th pick and selecting the quarterback they believe has elite attributes, trading the pick in the draft to accumulate assets while maintaining protection or roster depth, or opting for an elite offensive tackle if no trade materializes, and solidify the offensive line before defining the starting quarterback. Each option signals something different about the franchise's timeline. Staying and selecting Sanders in the draft. This demonstrates belief and urgency. Trading the pick backward. This signals patience and long-term roster building. Moving for a tackle. This signals infrastructure before identity. What makes this interesting is that, for the first time, Cleveland isn't cornered. They have flexibility, they have bargaining power, and they have a coach who wants clarity on the quarterback before training camp begins. This desire alone suggests they don't want another prolonged season of uncertainty at the position. The next few weeks will set the tone. Decisions regarding free agents, veteran player assessments, how aggressively they will position themselves before the draft. And remember, this is the time of year when smokescreens are everywhere. Words are chosen carefully. Silence can be more eloquent than statements. But Browns fans, here's the truth. Friday, and